What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us every Thursday for discussion about the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals alongside Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I'm your host today, Alex Van Aken, and I'm joined by my co-host, Marcus Stewart. How you doing, Marcus?
I am feeling Kenneth today.
Oh, so I saw the movie last night. I got very emotional watching that. And my wife, I looked over at her and she was crying. And I was like, it's a good movie.
Did you guys do the pink? Did you wear all pink?
She wore like this big sparkly pink lace floof dress. And then I didn't, I think my pink shirts are missing. I do own pink shirts, but I couldn't find them. So I just looked nice.
You wore a tuxedo.
Yeah, I actually had my abs out, and then I had just one shirt over it, buttons undone. Yeah.
Nice. I saw it. That movie's very good.
It is.
Yeah. I
love it. Charles Hart, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I saw the Barbie movie this weekend.
Yeah.
And I was my job was sick. I was sick, Ken.
Mine
doing good.
You also a bit of a development on the talent show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
I'm also sick because I'm so good at stuff.
Yeah, you're round 2.
I'm round 2.
The talent show that our parent company is throwing. I got denied. I didn't make it through.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask if you submitted or not.
Here's the thing. I set up my camera and my light and all that to do it really nice, and I had the song all picked out, and I was like up to the wire, right, like 11th hour, and halfway through I was like, oh, I didn't like that take, let me do another take. And so I started over, and my guitar string breaks, and I'm like, well, and so I submitted a like 20-second clip that I had from my phone of the song, and obviously I didn't get picked, but you are representing Game Informer going through the second round. You might win $10,000.
I might win $10,000. I'm in the top 10, and if I get to the top 5, then
you go to Vegas.
Then we get flown out to Vegas for 4 days, which is paid work days. And full disclosure, I'm a part-time Game Informer employee. I don't work 4 days in a week. So even if I get this, I'm going to get paid more than a normal week to go hang out at this conference.
Yeah. Do you... so I watched your submission. It was really good. But I noticed your brother is a big part of it. Like, how are you going to... Are you going to be doing his part too? Or is he just going to come with?
So I don't think he's going to come with. I think I'm going to do... This is a classic Charles maneuver I've done for some reason many times throughout my life, where I will film one take of me being half of my 2-person act, and that'll be on the screen, and then I'll rehearse it so we're like acting like we're having a conversation. So I'll probably start out with like a skit of some kind of me interacting with digital Charles. I was thinking of making a joke where I'm like, oh, hey, my brother's not here, so I'm just gonna scan myself into AI. And then like I pop up on the screen and I pretend it's like AI Charles. I don't know.
That's funny.
We'll figure it out.
I like that.
I'll come up with something worth $10,000.
Yeah. You know, that's like I think if you go out there, it's like in a week or 2.
Yeah, I know. Well, they were also supposed to post the voting thing yesterday, and they still haven't posted it yet. And I think the person in charge of it is probably like, yeah, I'll get to it when I get to it. It's just like a talent show. And for me, I'm like, dude, this is $10,000 of money. I need that much money to do stuff. But yes, yep.
Yeah. Before we move on from this, I just realized it would have been a very good prank if we had clipped Kyle's cover of Escape from the City from a few episodes ago and submitted that and see how far it goes. But without telling him that we did that.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
He suddenly gets an email notification that he needs to be in Vegas.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That would be amazing. So good.
Speaking of Sonic, speaking of escaping from the city or escaping to the city, recent New York resident, Kotaku Zone, Normandy FM Zone, Kenneth Shepard. How you doing, Ken?
I'm good. I was about to say, y'all need to catch up on the Barbie viewing leaderboards. I've seen that movie 3 times. Gonna see it probably one more. It just radiates Kenergy, and I'm very much attracted to that.
Yeah. Have you got a hoodie yet? Have you got a hoodie yet?
I ordered it. They don't send them out until I think like September.
Okay.
So, but like by then the weather will be good for it, so like I'll actually be able to wear it.
Yeah.
See, that works for you because your name is Ken. Because someone asked me if I was going to buy it, and I was like, I feel weird if my name is not Ken. I feel like it only works.
The I am Ken.
I could do I am Alex Van Aken enough. Aiken enough.
Like,
Aiken enough.
what is a pun that can work with
Van Aken enough. I'm Aken enough.
You're Alex. Alex
enough. Aken enough.
Yeah.
I am Aken. Okay, yeah.
No, if you say it 3 more times, it might make sense.
It sounds like you're in pain, like I'm aching.
Yeah, that's true. Well, welcome to the show, Ken. Before we dive in, we invited you on because we're going to be talking about Baldur's Gate 3 this week. Mm-hmm. You and I don't think Marcus and Charles have yet played the review build, but you and I have, and the embargo is up as of the day that this is going up, so we can talk about it. I don't think either of us have finished the game.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, I've had a day with it, but we'll get into all that. But before we do that, do you want to tell the Game Informer audience where they can find you, where to support you, all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean it's different than the last time I was on because that was about a year ago at this point. Mm-hmm. So I daylight over at Kotaku, staff writer over there. You can find me every day, except for right now. I've been on vacation for like a week and a half, and it's almost so. By the time this goes up, I'll be back over there writing stuff. So, you can find me there. I also do a bi-weekly retrospective podcast called Normandy FM with Alex Van Aken, where we kind of do a book club style retrospective of different games. We are just now starting the Nier season, which was supposed to have started back in January, but life happens and things get delayed. But you can also find very long seasons of retrospectives for Mass Effect, Dragon Age, The Last of Us, Cyberpunk 2077, and Final Fantasy X.
Awesome.
Over there. Like 200 something episodes at this point. That's me as far as the internet is concerned.
Awesome. I do want to call out real quick for folks who are wanting to get the latest. We just put up our Sonic Superstars cover last week. And thank you. I think I've been out for 2 weeks. I was on a work trip and then I had some family stuff. So Marcus, you hosted both those, right?
Yes.
So I missed the Sonic Superstar stuff, but I did want to say, if you're looking for a print version of that should be, hitting GameStop.com/Game Informer any day now. It's been really cool this week on social. A lot of people have gone to their local GameStops, I guess, and I guess they're selling physical Game Informers again for $5.99 a piece. You've been able to get them online, but I went myself to a GameStop in Virginia. I know people have gone to some here in Minnesota. Seems like a lot of different people in a lot of different states. They're going to their GameStops and they're seeing piles of Game Informer. So if you're missing an issue or you want to get an extra one for a friend or whatever, they are $5.99 a piece. You can buy them online or in store. And of course, you can get a digital subscription to Game Informer. And I just wanted to call that out. It's a great way to support the show if you enjoy it. All right.
Alex, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
When you go to a GameStop, do you tell them that you write for Game Informer?
Not if I can help it. But sometimes because I use my employee discount, and they're like, why are you here? Don't you work at a store? I'm like, oh, no, I work at Game Informer. And sometimes they'll be like, whoa. And other times they'll be like, huh, okay, I'm new. I don't really know what that is.
You got to say with more confidence than I. Like, you walk in there and you say, don't you know who I am?
Oh, is that what you say? See, what I do is I wait for...
Marcus kicks the door in.
I watch the TV screen for like 20 minutes and I wait till a clip of Game Informer or something comes up. And then I walk up. I'm like, hey, that's me.
You're like pretending to look at the Funko Pops, and then when you hear your voice, you turn around.
Oh, now's my chance. Now's my chance. Yeah, and I like waddle up. Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I have an experience, like, when I go to like a GameStop and they give me the pre-order spiel like they have to give every time, and like I've been like slightly uncomfortable sometimes when like I've got people telling me things like they think I'm just like a guy that just walked in and was like, no, I actually work in the industry, and then it just gets like progressively more awkward where you feel like, at what point do I tell them that I know all these things? And then, like there's like a whole other layer for that when you're like, I literally work for the company that does this for y'all.
I think,
Yeah. People at Target do that too. I went to get a Starfield controller because I realized that they are starting to sell out places, and I wanted to get one before I couldn't. And he was just like going on and on about how I should play, you know, all these Bethesda games. And I'm like, yeah, man, they're good. But yeah, you don't want to be a dick. And
you don't want to be like super pompous about it.
I just let him. I think because I used to work as a store associate in another life. So I've done the spiel, so I know the perhaps inner pain that's going on of like, I gotta repeat this again. So I just let him do it. I just pretend I'm like, I get it. You know, it's
that's right.
No need to embarrass them.
Yeah. And then you just say, no, thank you at the end of it. Right? Like, yeah, I'm good.
And then they're like, well, are you sure? Because, you know, these things can get, what if it snaps in half? I did find out.
See, then that's when I say, don't you know who I am?
Yeah. And you had timed it so that you are now up on the screen for the second if they were.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're a master at that, Marcus. You're really good. I did find out, apparently I bought my dad a Switch game, and they just like gave me the protection stuff for free with my employee stuff. That's never happened to me before, but I was like, all right, now I can throw this out the window.
Too,
and I'll be
good. I bought my brother Tears of the Kingdom, and they were like, oh, and I'll scan this in for you real quick. And I had already put the employee discount in, so they were like, you know what's up. And I was like, yeah, but we're on the same page.
Absolutely.
I know what you're doing. Yeah,
have you seen the TikToks where it's like the ice cream parlors, and they go and they're like, oh, actually, I wanted chocolate. And they like take the ice cream and throw it at the other employee. I want somebody to do that, but
it's really good, Marcus.
This is really, there's about 20% of our audience who knows what we're talking about.
They'll have the ice cream cone and they'll reach out to hand it to you, and they'll be like, oh, sorry, I wanted chocolate. And the employee will be like, oh, sorry, grab the ice cream off with their hands and chuck it full strength.
And it'll like hit people on the forehead and just stick.
It's always planned, but it's never not funny because you're throwing ice cream as hard as you can.
I want them to do that, but at GameStop, and I want them to like hand you the game and you'd be like, oh, I ordered the protection or whatever. And they're like, oh, my bad. And then they just like throw it against the wall or something. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyways.
And then it like slices right through the person's face.
All right. Let's talk about video games. Baldur's Gate 3, I think, is the biggest release of the week. Of course, it's kind of like hit a peak when all the bear druid scenes came out in the live stream a few weeks back. And I feel like hype for this game has just continued to rise since then. And it has certainly grabbed me. Me and Ken are both playing review branches of the game. And Ken, I've brought you on because you've played like the early access version of this. I don't know how far you got, but whenever we're in Discord talking, it seems like you're very knowledgeable in the game, and you've been able to point out, oh, that's different from early access. That's not here. So I kind of wanted to bring you on, and I'll let you start. Like, what are your overall thoughts on Baldur's Gate 3 so far?
Yeah, I did play I think I put like 20 to 30 hours into the early access, which I did technically like get to the end of what it was, because like it gets you to a certain point in the story and then just cuts off.
Yeah.
And so I think it has been kind of fascinating to like finally play the full game for a number of reasons. One being like, oh, I'm actually going to progress. I'm actually going to see the conclusion of the story that I have been, paying attention to for however long. But also it's just fascinating to kind of see what has changed, because, the broad strokes of the game are still the same in terms of like, the core conflict, a lot of the builds and the abilities that you can have are all the same. But there are just like swaths of the story that are changed in ways that like I'm still kind of waiting to get to the end before I like any sort of hard judgment call on whether I think things are better or worse. But I think there have been things where my relationship to characters is demonstrably different, and the sort of theories that I had about certain aspects are like they're no longer there anymore, because like that's not the way the story has been written out in the end. And I think what's kind of something I would love to talk to Larry about is kind of the pros and cons of this approach, because like you've been kind of collaboratively making this very character focused, story focused RPG with the community for several years, and you established certain plot threads years ago that have ultimately like not really gone anywhere because they've just been plucked out of the game and replaced with something else. And so that's just like a fascinating experience to have with the game. It's kind of like be playing it as it's being made, because like that's even as press, as people that plays games before they're out, like that's not usually our experience. We usually play games that are at least to some degree kind of like nailed down. Like even if some things are improved or changed, like this is largely what the game is going to be. Yeah. And now you just have like full sections of this game that kind of didn't go anywhere and that have been like kind of just removed from the game that we've ended up playing. And so that's just like a fascinating experience to have with a game in general, like both an RPG that you have this really strong investment in terms of like you made this character and you have this relationship with all these other party members, and that's just like I'm still kind of like wrapping my head around like if I am content with a lot of these changes, because ultimately, like, I mean, I won't like get into any spoilers. Like there are some altered plot lines that I'm not really as intrigued by in the way that they've gone, like to the point where like I was in a romantic relationship with a character in early access who I don't think I'm going to pursue in this game because the story has been completely rewritten and it's just not as interesting to me anymore. And so yeah, it's just like it's been a fascinating experience, and it's kind of like a experiment on Larian's part to kind of see them roll out this game in this way, and us as players kind of reassessing our relationship to certain things as the game has gone on. Yeah.
And it's been, as somebody who didn't play, I like dabbled in early access. Like, I think I like did this character creator and I played through like the alien ship segment. And then I was like, I really tend to stay away from early access games because I just want to preserve my full experience is going to be. And I'm not somebody who likes to backtrack all that much and redo content. I say as I've played WoW countless times, the intros to every character or every race, but I'm really enjoying the characters, period. Like I was not sure if I was going to be grabbed by them very early on. And I really like Gale a lot. I like I don't like him, but he is a good party member. Astarion, right? Yeah. Who they're even like with the design of the characters, they're like Astarion has something about him. I don't know if I don't want to say it, but if you just pay attention to his character, when you first meet him, you see things about him that are like, wait a second, is that what I think it is? Does that mean that you're this kind of character? And I haven't seen that play out yet, but I'm going to assume that it eventually shows itself. And I'm trying to not spoil anything, but if you play the game what's up, Marcus?
Astarion is the name?
Yeah, Astarion, is that right, Ken?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I haven't played this like you said, but you just said about like, oh, I don't like him, but he's good. A good party member. Do you mean like, oh, he's good in the fight, but like as a person he sucks? So. No,
I think I don't think he sucks. He's just like Astarion, and you meet him literally like in the first 20 minutes of the game, so I feel comfortable kind of giving a brief description about him. I don't think this is spoiling anything, but he is like this very pompous, artsy,
pretentious. Pretentious?
Yeah, I think that's the vibe I get. Yeah. And you kind of meet him in unfavorable circumstances. And you kind of tag along for the common goal of your mission. And I feel like I feel like he's going to be like an onion, and you just keep peeling it back. And I'm sure a lot of the characters are like that.
It's going to make you cry.
Yeah, I don't know, but he's very pretentious and very theatrical. And like, he's kind of an ass. And so at least when you first meet him. And so I don't really love him for that, but in combat, he's a rogue. and or yeah, I'd say he's a rogue. Yeah. And I didn't want to roll a rogue for my main character because I play a lot of rogues in other games. Like WoW, my main character's a rogue, and I was like, I want to do something different. So I rolled a wizard. But it's always good to have a rogue on your team, and his dice rolls and stuff. And we should explain in a second, like how combat and all of that works. But I just like him as a fighter. And there are other characters on my party that are maybe the reverse. Like they aren't the best fighter for my style, but I really like them as a character. And so, yeah, it's an interesting thing, but I guess let's kind of rewind a second and explain the systems at play in Baldur's Gate 3, in case, people listening to this show aren't familiar with the series. They aren't familiar with, Larian or their other properties, the Divinity, Original Sin. So Baldur's Gate 3 is part of the D&D universe. So you are abiding by largely D&D rules. So when you have your action points, you have different ranges with spells and all of that, and everything is kind of done through these stats and sometimes invisible dice rolls, but many times very visible dice rolls where you are clicking a die on screen and adding any bonuses that you want that maybe your characters give you, and rolling for, dexterity, rolling for strength checks, rolling for, saving throws, that kind of thing, like you would in a tabletop RPG. And that is largely how you are interacting with the world. I think if you played XCOM or even like Mario Rabbids to an extent, there are some of those systems in those games that are more invisible. And like, in XCOM where you might be right next to a guy and you fire and you miss and you're like, what the heck? That can happen in this game, but you will see you'll see those same percentages, but like in other interactions as well, like even in conversation, let's say you want to try to intimidate a person, an NPC, to get more information out of them. You can attempt that. And that's when your die will come up and it'll tell you like, okay, you need to beat a 5. And there are times where you roll a 2 and you're like, well, damn it. That was a very easy skill check and I failed it. And now I can't get whatever was behind that skill check. And then there are other times where like, your character, depending on the situation, might have a ton of advantages and bonuses. And so you've got like plus 10 to, whatever your dice roll ends up being. And you just, you clear it with ease. And just like in tabletop, I believe, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, if you like exponentially beat your skill check, sometimes there are special results versus just merely going over it. Is that correct?
I don't think I've personally run into something like that. Granted, I spec very specifically into charisma based things, so that's at least my experience thus far.
Okay.
Because in terms of strength checks, I don't really have much going on. I'm playing a warlock, so I didn't really need to spec into that specifically. But yeah, like you're saying, there's just so much. I am oscillating a lot between frequent frustration and just being oh, this game freaking rules. Because it is so dense, not in the open world RPG kind of way of being dense, but just in terms of the systems are there's so much going on. And a lot of that comes with dice rolls, a lot of that comes with there are a lot of status effects and various just layers to every interaction, whether that's in combat, whether that's just talking to somebody, in a way that I think if you're, because Baldur's Gate originates from BioWare, so if you hear the origins of BioWare are coming back into a modern market, I don't think you need to come in expecting Dragon Age or Mass Effect, because it is way more dense and systems heavy than any of those games are. And I think that's something that even I have been having some friction with, is that just structurally, it still kind of feels like a BioWare game in terms of you have this party that you're going out and you're meeting and you're recruiting, and you're every day you're going back to camp to talk to them about their lives and learning all this backstory. But just in terms of how you interact with the world, it is so there's just so much more going on, and it can be frustrating sometimes. But then, like when it all clicks together, I'm just like, oh man, this game is firing on all cylinders and is really kind of like scratching some itch I didn't even know I had. So I think like it kind of, if you have heard that this is similar to a BioWare game, like it is in some ways, but I think you just kind of need to be prepared for like this is BioWare of old, like long before like Mass Effect and Dragon Age came and kind of like streamlined a lot of those systems.
This is like CRPG, you know, tactical RPG adjacent.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just, on the note of it being very systems dense. So I haven't played a ton of this game. I've like dabbled in it twice. I've made 2 characters, but I'm very excited for it because I'm extremely into Dungeons and Dragons, and it's like the main other thing about me, other than video games, is how much I like Dungeons and Dragons. I just finished a campaign a few weeks ago, and my friends and we had been playing since March of 2021. So it went for 2.5 years. And I was the DM, so I was the one like plotting everything. So for me, it's like the systems are exciting because it's like a language I'm really comfortable with that's now being put in like a virtual setting where it's like, oh, I don't have to worry about getting someone to run a game for me because this thing's going to do it for me. And like just getting stupid excited about like, oh my gosh, this is how they're adapting thaumaturgy into a video game setting. Of course, why would it be any other way? But I totally understand also why that would be annoying for some people, because again, I've been playing with these people for like 2.5 years, and constantly I'm like, actually, that's not how this attack works. Even though you've been using it over and over again, it's actually like this thing activates and then this thing activates. So, but yes, I'm very excited in just, I don't know. I also think as the DM in a Dungeons and Dragons group, where I'm the one loosely guiding the story in a certain direction, I enjoy when things go wrong in a certain way, because to me, I like setting up the forks in the road and then seeing which way it's going to go. So since I've been doing that, when I'm in a game like this and I fail like a charisma check, I'm more invested in that failure than I used to be, because I'm like, oh, cool, that's the way the story's going now. Or I used to always be like, I used to be the guy that was always nice to everyone in every game because I wanted these fake people to like me. And now I'm kind of like, it's kind of fun to be like, fuck this guy. I don't really like you at all. And I don't know. So all that to say, if you really like Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition specifically, and that's like a language you're comfortable with, I think it will feel very natural the way it's pulled over. And it's not a 1-to-1, but it's like a 1.2 to 1. Like it's pretty close. All the classes, all the subclasses are real D&D stuff. So.
Yeah. I guess I should say, what are you playing as, Ken?
Yeah.
So when I do RPGs, I am very self-insert. I make a guy that looks as close to me as I can get, although like that face doesn't really look like mine. So I'm playing a human warlock, as opposed to like going into all of like the crazy other otherworldly races that they have. And I always like generally skew towards magic, and I was very compelled by the patron mechanic that they added, which I haven't actually, as of this recording, I have not encountered yet, where like you can talk to your patron about like decisions, which is apparently like a perk that they've added since early access. So I generally just skew for like something that's fairly unremarkable, because like I just try to make a character who is me in this world. So yeah, it's nothing very exciting.
I always, most of the time, I love orcs in games, and so I'm playing as the half orc, which is I don't know, it looks like an orc, so I picked it. As compared to the Githyanki, which are like very frail looking orcs. I want my orc to be like muscle man.
They're vegan orcs.
Yeah, of course. My guy is always at the Texas Day Brazil. My orc. The flag is always up. But yeah, so I'm playing a half orc wizard, and I'm specializing in Conjuring. And I'm having a lot of fun. His name's Mulgar, which is my orc name for all my characters. It's always Mulgar.
Mulgar.
Yeah. And the game is good, dude. I'm having such a blast dressing him up, putting him in warlock hats, and I got this staff off of a goblin last night, and it's like this giant adorned skull. It's not a very good staff, but it looks sick. And I'm just I'm having such a blast leveling up, and it's kind of scratching that itch that I used to go to WoW for. And granted, it's a single player game, but like that, the world is so dense. Well,
it can be multiplayer.
Yeah. I'm playing a single player file right now.
Right.
But the world is so dense and there are so many interactions going on that it almost feels like an MMO in a way.
I'm trying to because and this is something that my friends make fun of me for. I'm very much like a point A to B kind of person when it comes to most video games, and I think that's something I'm having to reckon with in this. Is that like, instead of like trying to go to the waypoint that gets me to the next plot beat, like I'm like trying to get where I explore more and see how like new knowledge from like the other side of the map is going to help me on this other side of the map. And that's like, it comes to that density that we're talking about. I think that like has been something I'm kind of having to, like I'm having to unlearn my preconceived notions of what an RPG of this style looks like, because it is not the Mass Effect, it's not the BioWare. And I think like, if you're, one thing that I will say is like some advice is like, if you're looking at this game that is like the third game in a 20-year-old franchise, and maybe being like, oh, do I need to go back and play this old games? Like, I think what is probably more helpful to know is just like D&D lore, which I kind of know mostly through osmosis at this point in my life. Because like, there's so much jargon, there is so much like deep lore to know that I've just kind of been learning as I go, which I think has probably been a mistake. I think if you want to know, if you're aiming for comprehension, it is less about knowing the first two games than it is just understanding the world at large that this is pulling from. And there are resources and YouTube videos I'm sure you can find on that.
This game could really use active time lore.
It could. Yes, I was just about to say
that. Yeah.
I love active time lore. It's a Final Fantasy, for people that don't know. It's a Final Fantasy 16 mechanic. You can just press the touchpad at like any time during a cutscene, and a lot of times just in the open world, and it'll just be like, hey, this face you didn't recognize, here's this person, here's where they're from, here's
These are all the key players.
Remember about them. Yeah, here's the country you're in, here's what's going on. Yeah, I definitely think this would be like that, and it is a thing for me where it's exciting. It's more comfortable for me because I already know that type of thing. Yeah. But I definitely, I wrote a piece about how I really like active time lore. And when I was pitching it, our editor-in-chief, Matt Miller, was like, that's interesting. Or he didn't disagree with me, but he thought it was interesting. I liked it a lot because he was like, some people like to be really immersed in the fantasy world and like not know the things people are saying, which is not a thing I realized.
Can't relate.
But if you really like that, if you like dunking yourself in and they're like, the staff of Quargoth and the ruins of Tel Noria, and you're like, I don't know what that is, I'd love to figure out. Like,
sounds cool.
Oh, this is the game for you.
I'm happy for you, or that sucks. I don't know.
So I think like something that that notion of like mystery being helpful or like engaging in some way, I think that works for me more in something like Final Fantasy 16, where I am simply like along for the ride. Like I'm Clive and I got my sword and I'm hitting things and I am learning about things as I go. Where I think that works less for me for something like Baldur's Gate is like I'm making decisions in this world constantly, and if I don't really understand the full context of what I'm doing, that makes me feel bad, because I feel like, oh, I'm hitting the button to kill this person, not realizing that they are actually good, because I have this very like tunnel visioned understanding of something that's going on. And so like understanding a world that I am having to interact with on that level, where I'm having to like make these like decisions that have like these large ripples on the world, like beyond simply what's in front of me. I just prefer to understand the breadth of what I'm doing, and I think certain games do it better in terms of how they kind of exposition things in ways that feel like they are helpful in a way that lets me navigate this world in some way. And I think like to some degree, like things that play with your lack of understanding, I think are interesting. Because like an example that I think of is like recently I replayed Cyberpunk 2077, and you had those different origin stories that you could go through, and it kind of painted a very specific picture of the world for you that made you feel like more grounded in the role that you were in terms of like, okay, I'm a V from the city, so the sort of higher business politics of Night City maybe are kind of lost on me, but that feels very true to the character that I started this as. Where Baldur's Gate has, like, I mean, there are a few different origins you can pick from, but there's this kind of like flattened, singular created character one that I think most people are probably going to play initially, and so like everyone kind of has this one perspective of the world, but your characters shouldn't, in theory. Like they should, come from a very diverse set of backgrounds, but everyone starts out on that ship. So like everyone kind of has this very, like if you're not coming in with like a lot of D&D knowledge, you're coming in with a very specific understanding of your situation, but maybe less so about like the grander politics of the D&D universe. So that's just something like I've been thinking a lot about in terms of how an RPG can frame your understanding of the world based in the character that you make. And I think maybe like a lot more of those nuances will become apparent to me as I keep playing. But right now there is that sort of singular vision that most people I think will have going in, unless they are coming in with like some expert knowledge or have like done, campaigns with their friends and know all the tabletop lore. So it'll be interesting to kind of like talk to people as I talk to more people that have come through the game with different backgrounds in terms of like where they started and what their character actually exists in the world as.
Yeah,
I think it does like a lot. I was going to say, like, I think it does a lot to kind of really differentiate your characters throughout the actual main plot and just, in different side quests, like as you're coming across characters who might have inherent distrust of, like, say you're a character that's playing a certain race and like, oh, I don't trust Githyanki or whatever it is. I think like the game does a lot to differentiate throughout the game. That original origin point is mostly the same for everybody. So,
yeah, you mentioned, like, oh, I'm doing these actions and now I feel bad about them. Or I don't, that happened to me in like the first 3 hours. I ended up getting in a scenario where I ended up killing some people, and like 40 minutes later, I found the rest of their people, and it turns out like they are this group of people that are like pretty unarmed and like they're not fighters, and I'm like, oh, I just like slaughtered your friends back there. And now I'm like, was there another way? Was I impatient in how I dealt with the situation? Because it felt like in that moment, like black and white, good people over here, bad people here. I'm gonna side with the good people and kill the bad people. And then 45 minutes later, oh, they're not bad people. There's just like a lot of miscommunication going on. And I'm planning to play a co-op game at some point where I start a different character, and I'm going to hopefully encourage whoever I'm playing with, hey, can we see like if we can resolve this a different way? And that's kind of the beauty of these games as well.
Is that just two player co-op, or can you have more? Or?
Four. Right?
Oh, okay.
That's what it was in Divinity, yeah. And then lastly, I think the opening of Baldur's Gate 3 is so good. It's just like, I'm hooked. It's a great, not a MacGuffin. Everybody has a great goal. Like in the first 20 minutes, you're like, oh, I have to do something about this. And it's just really kept my interest, and also plays well into like player interaction, and like there's some interesting interactions that unlock because of narrative reasons. That is like, oh, it's so much fun to explore. And I'm a little worried like it about making the wrong choice and like losing somebody. But I guess we'll get there. We'll cross that road when we get there.
Yeah, something that I think is I really appreciate about the game is that you get your party like within the first hour. Like almost everybody's like by your side by that point, and because I think it's good for a lot of reasons, because like you're establishing your different relationships with all these characters, and to have them from the outset as you're kind of figuring out who you are in the world and like what you do and don't stand by. I think it's important to have like those that wealth of perspective that comes from all these characters that have different backgrounds in this world, and also kind of like, as I have not yet run into this myself, but in talking to other people, like you can lose a party member like fairly quickly, like fairly easily. Whether that be them just being like, hey, I'm not down with what you're doing, and so I'm going to leave and figure this out on my own, or conflict escalating to the point of somebody dying. It seems like it's not necessarily easy per se to fall into the things, but like it is very possible. Like there's a constant like threat to your party that somebody might just not be there in 20 minutes. And I think like having those characters in your proximity very early on, and kind of like throughout all these things that are going to happen, because it goes in like even in that opening section that was the early access section, which I finished like after this recording I finished last night. There are like so many opportunities for things to go south for your party, for everyone to kind of like just not be on the same page, and things possibly having a tragic end. And I think it's just good to kind of like set the tone for that and set the stakes of that as soon as you can. And I think the game really excels in that.
Yeah. All right. Well, Charles, you mentioned in Slack today you were thinking about playing a game. Are we going to play that game right now, or are we going to save that? The Baldur's Gate 3 thing.
I didn't really prep. My game was basically just. But I think I made a character. I'm not sure how applicable this is. You guys can tell me how familiar you are with this. I thought it would be fun to go through the Baldur's Gate classes, of which I believe there are 12, because there's 12 D&D classes, and I can double check, and assign a well-known video game character to each one of those classes.
I like this.
Perhaps to allow the audience to be more familiar with like the kind of things they do.
Okay.
Or like what to expect if you want to do this one.
All right. I like that. I'm pulling up the Baldur's Gate wiki. And yeah, yep, you're right. There are 12. So I guess we'll just start at the top. Yeah. And we'll read the description, and we'll try to assign like maybe a more, like you said, a familiar character. Barbarian. The strong embrace the wild that hides inside. Keen instincts, primal physicality, and most of all, an unbridled, unquenchable rage. It's Kratos, right? Yep. Okay, I was gonna say.
By far the easiest one on this list.
Yeah, I was also gonna say the Barbarian in Diablo. But
Barbarian in Baldur's Gate 2.
Yeah. Bard. You know, music is more.
Wow.
You know, music is more than a fancy; it is power. Through study and adventure, you have mastered song, speech, and the magic within.
Could also do like
guy from The Artful Escape. What was his name? Francis.
Oh yeah.
What's his name from Hi-Fi Rush?
I was going to say Chai.
Chai,
Hi-Fi
yeah.
Rush.
Chai,
Actually,
I like
Chai's
that.
the perfect bard because he's an idiot. So.
Ever since I played that, I keep thinking about our Game of the Year awards and how we do Biggest Dork. I really want Chai to win Biggest Dork.
Oh yeah, he's been in my short list of like he's probably the front runner. Yeah, Chai.
All right. Cleric. Clerics are representative of the gods they worship, wielding potent divine magic for good or ill.
Mercy from Overwatch.
Ken, I'm really glad you are literally. In my head, I was like, I feel like this might be too easy because these are all the things I'm thinking of, and you have said them like beat for beat.
I was gonna say, I don't know, Yuna, Final Fantasy X.
I haven't
played Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, me neither.
She's like the white mage summoner character.
Okay.
Basically,
I didn't know if there was
the
like
other
a
main
Final
character.
Fantasy.
I don't know if there's like a godly one, like a godly healer in a game, because the clerics are kind of tied to religion, but I don't really have.
I mean, for me, when I'm playing this game and I see a cleric, it's a paladin from World of Warcraft. Like it's you're rocking your armor and your shields.
I do believe there is a paladin class in this game.
Is there? Yeah, there is.
Mm.
Dang it. But I feel like cleric's like the battle healer, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they
more or
fight and
less.
they heal. Yeah. Clerics are low key the best class in Dungeons.
I mean, are you saying they themselves are like also because like they're technically battle healers and said they're healing in the midst of a battle, but does that mean they themselves are warriors, or
They have, like,
depends on the
They have like
class.
they have shields. The cleric in my party has a big shield and like a morning star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about do you guys play Tales of Arise? The one lady that's the knight that has the big shield. That's pretty much her job.
Yeah. What's her
One
name?
lady with the shield. I forgot her name. It's been a while. Tales fans know who I'm talking about. She's really good at cooking and fishing.
You know who is a cleric?
Sarah?
You know who's a
Kisara,
cleric?
yeah.
Another Overwatch reference. I think Brigitte is a cleric.
There we
Yeah.
go. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Brigitte is a cleric. Druid. Druids channel the elemental forces of nature and share a deep kinship with animals. Mastery of wild shape allows them to transform into beasts from all over the realms.
Cameo from Cameo Elements of Power.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
Wow,
this
you were ready with that one.
Oh,
Jeez.
Chia.
Oh, yeah,
There we go.
transforms. Yeah,
That's a great one.
Just doing middle fingers as she's doing it too.
Fighter. Fighters have mastered the art of combat, wielding weapons with unmatched skill, and wearing armor like a second skin. I mean,
So many.
yeah, like every
Liu
video game
Kang.
character. Liu Kang.
Just gonna throw out a
Geralt? Actually, he'd be better for like Ranger, probably.
Ooh, Geralt's good. I feel like Liu Kang might be better as the next one.
That Liu Kang would be better as the next one.
Okay. So
I mean,
read fighter again. He said
It's like your classic.
It's like
sword
Aragorn.
fight
No, Aragorn's
user.
a ranger.
it's like he's a yeah.
It's
Aragorn.
Link.
Who?
It is Link.
Yeah, it's
Link.
Link. Yeah.
Wait, is
Link.
Link not a ranger? Or?
No.
So the difference in this Ranger is like half druid, half fighter in like the D&D world. So they have like nature magic and sword fighting. I guess Link does have nature magic. Link, honestly, depending on the
I mean,
game,
Link
could
can
be,
kind of be anybody.
Okay, we're talking about like Super Smash Bros. Link is fighter.
but even then, that's like
Okay.
six.
How about Marth?
There we go.
Yeah.
That's it.
like a
Yeah.
swordsman guy. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Monk, a master of martial arts, harnessing the power of the body in pursuit of physical and spiritual perfection.
I mean, we said Liu Kang, but honestly, Ryu is probably the
I would
poster
say,
child.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Paladin, fueled by oaths you swore to uphold justice and righteousness. You are a beacon of hope in dark times.
Captain America, everyone's favorite video game character.
He does have major paladin energy.
Yeah,
I
he
feel
does.
like it's paladin. I feel like is a very like anime. Their main thing is the smite, where their like
Yeah.
sword glows with divine energy, and they like just smash you. I feel like there's a good. I can't think of
Is that Link? Because he charges up his sword and then it glows and then.
He does have the
Have a-
sword that seals the darkness, like the ultimate.
Yeah.
What about
light.
this is out of left field, okay? But you know who gives Paladin vibes? Alphonse Elric from Full Metal.
That's not a video game character.
They have video games of that series.
What was the last most Full Metal game?
I have a video game specific example. Cal Kestis. I feel like it's a very Jedi thing.
Yeah, with a shield and big armor.
Yeah, but he doesn't. You know, the weapons are off. You could be a whip wielding
Yeah, that's
paladin
true.
if you want.
Yeah.
What is would Cirrus or is Mentor be better for that? Because Cal's got some shades of gray in there. She's kind of like pure kind of Jedi, I guess.
Well, Seer's whole thing is that she left in the first game.
I mean, she left, but I mean,
She like tasted
in the
the dark
beginning, but by
side.
the time, in the second game, she's like all like
Yeah,
super,
yeah.
you know. I don't know.
We get the a Jedi.
A Jedi.
Yeah, a Jedi.
A Jedi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
A goody two shoes Jedi.
But only the Lego version.
Yeah, of course.
That's the purest
There
form
we
of
go.
Jedi.
Yeah. Rangers are unrivaled scouts and trackers, honing a deep connection with nature in order to hunt their favorite prey. Geralt, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
The Witcher.
I mean, if you're going to use Alphonse, I would say like Wolverine would be a great answer.
Ooh, he's a great answer.
Yeah, that is.
He's in a game that's coming up soon.
All right, I get it. Well, I mean, technically, The Witcher is based on a book, so
that's
true.
Yeah.
slippery slope here. Rogue with stealth.
Actually,
What?
a pure video game answer for that: Solid Snake. Or maybe if you want to go solid, Naked Snake.
I think
he's literally in one with nature in Metal Gear Solid 3.
I feel like he's the next one, which is Rogue. With stealth, skill, and uncanny reflexes, a rogue's versatility lets them get the upper hand in almost any situation.
Well, see, here's the thing. What about that guy? What's his name from Thief? Because that's like a classic
Thief?
video game.
Isn't it just
What's his name from Thief? Garrett.
What about
The Thief series.
what about like Emily from Dishonored?
Definitely Dishonored is what I think of when I think of Rogue.
Okay.
Who's the dad?
I mean, Dishonored's definitely built
Corvo?
on the Thief Foundation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
Honestly, I think Thief is probably more in line because there's less magic in Thief. And I feel like rogues are mostly...
You could be
You could do like, do they have Shadow Step or something like
there's
that?
a magic subclass.
Okay. Okay, this is where it's going to get really convoluted, these last three. Sorcerer. Sorcerers are natural spellcasters, drawing on inherent magic from a gift or bloodline.
I do want to I want to help.
So one I want to say is a spoiler, so I'm not going to say it.
The three spellcasters at the end here. There's Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. Sorcerers have magic like from inside them. They are like the source of the magic.
like, are they born with magic? Like that's just part
born
of
with magic, or they get it from somewhere.
These
Like,
are
a
the
lot of
three
superheroes
Spider-Mans.
like a sorcerer. What?
I said they're the three Spider-Mans. One of them gets it from within. One of them is from being smart.
I think they all get it the same.
I mean,
And the other, and the third is from devil worship, like a patron demon.
Spider-Man.
But yeah, sorcerers from within. Warlock is like you're granted power from like some higher force, and
Shazam.
Riku from Kingdom Hearts.
Wizard is you are like studying. You've learned spells. You're doing it based on like stuff you know, as opposed to like an innate ability. I don't know if Kingdom Hearts.
So if we start with sorcerer in terms of like you're born magic.
Mm-hmm.
You're just a magical being.
I feel like this should be easy.
I feel like this should be
Yeah, right. Especially in video games, should be just like who's just a magic
like
person.
I don't know, Sonic.
What?
Are we saying his speed is
Magically fast, right? I don't know. Is he just
No.
What about
he just runs that fast and there's no magic involved?
What about Kamek from Mario? He's like a sorcerer. He's probably born with all that stuff because he's his race is called the Magic Koopas, which implies that they are Koopas that are born with magic.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I like that. Bound by a pact to an all. So next is Warlock.
It's Riku. It's Riku from Kingdom Hearts.
Riku.
Yeah.
Sure.
We'll take it. I also say Pit from Kid Icarus. He gets his flight from Palutena. There's like some.
But isn't he already just an angel? Like, doesn't he just have
He has wings, but
with?
he can't fly unless Palutena lets him.
So I was gonna say, what about Pit knockoff main character from Immortals Phoenix Rising, whatever? I guess their name was Phoenix, wasn't it? Because they got their powers from the gods.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I think Wizard master the arcane by specializing in individual schools of magic, combining ancient spells with modern research. That sounds an awful lot like Pokemon to me. So I'm gonna say
What?
I'm gonna say Red from Pokemon Red.
Wait, what?
No, Red doesn't know.
Individual schools of magic,
Can you show your
fire,
work, please?
fire, water.
But he's not casting
lightning.
spells.
He's catching things that do all that stuff for him. He's not learning how to do
I
it.
would have thought Ranger for Pokemon.
Yeah, because they can
They have this
companions.
connection with wildlife.
Okay, I changed my answer to Ditto. The Pokemon Ditto.
But that's an inherent ability of.
I will. How about this? All Pokemon are sorcerers,
I mean, pretty much.
but not all sorcerers are Pokemon.
But Ditto's a druid.
Ditto is a druid.
Dang it.
Ditto's
Okay.
got polymorph.
Druid could turn into a
online.
Beware and have sex with something if it wanted to.
Oh my god. Okay, what's a wizard?
A wizard. They have to.
That's a Fire Emblem. In Fire Emblem, you gotta go to school and learn how to do spells.
What's Robin? Who's the Fire Emblem character that holds the book?
Robin.
Yeah, Robin has to. I assume that's how they get their powers at books.
Oh yeah, everyone in
the book's just for show.
3 houses they gotta read.
Yeah, they gotta go to class and stuff. You know.
I like that. Yeah. Now let's redo all of them as Pokemon. Not really. But
Ditto.
Yeah, they gotta all be Ditto. Hold on, we can do this real quick. Barbarian.
I'll do it.
Machamp.
I was gonna say, like, what's
Machamp's got a championship belt. You know.
Barbarian would be the new Pokemon with the giant hammer, Tinkaton. Bard would be Jigglypuff.
Easy. Cleric, Clefairy.
Sure.
Druid, Ditto. We said.
Yeah.
Fighter, Hitmonchan.
Or Leaf.
Hitmonchan can be Monk.
Okay, fighter
we can do
Marowak.
Farfetch'd one. Marowak is good.
There you go.
I forget what Farfetch'd evolves into.
Surfetch.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Surfetch,
He
that's great.
uses a leak like a sword.
We said Monk was who?
Hitmonchan.
Paladin.
Dang it.
Is there a knight Pokemon yet?
Aegislash?
I was gonna say there's the Pokemon that's just a sword
He's a sword and shield.
and has like wings. That implies like holy. Ranger. That's Ash, right?
Sure.
Oh, you said Pokemon. Oh, there's like actual pocket.
Okay.
Ditto as Ash.
What about
It's Phalanx, the one that's got like a bunch of them that follows, like, I don't even know what they're called.
Yeah,
They
Phalanx.
look like they look like Kirby characters, basically. Like they gather more, and that's right.
what about Mr. Mime?
Explain, please.
I don't know.
I don't know. That was
Ranger,
such a swing to have no
I
explanation.
feel like an unrivaled scout and tracker would be a bird. One of the legendary birds.
Sure.
I mean, if you're omniscient,
Holding a
you
deep
can track
connection with
things.
nature.
Freaking Decidueye. Someone's gonna be watching this,
yeah,
is gonna be so
Decidueye.
mad we didn't immediately say Decidueye.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm not a big Pokemon guy, so that's my excuse.
It looks like Robin Hood, but it's a bird with an
Wait,
arrow.
what?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the coolest Pokemon ever. Just like, you need to look that up.
Rogue.
Oh, I would have said Decidueye.
Isn't there what about Meowth? Wasn't Meowth steal things?
Meowth has rogue vibes.
Like a Gengar, like a
Gengar.
Oh,
no,
Gengar.
no. Gengar would be, I feel like a
Sorcerer?
warlock or a sorcerer.
We'll do Greninja. He's got
pickpocket
ninja.
Pokemon.
Greninja for rogue. I like that.
He's got throwing stars.
Yeah. Sorcerer, natural spellcasters. I mean, can we just say Charizard? Because I like
feel like there was other
Charizard.
choice.
Yeah.
What about Mewtwo? I don't know.
I like Mewtwo for this. I was gonna say like Pikachu. It's like let's go classic.
Mewtwo technically did not inherit it from a bloodline.
Mewtwo is a good warlock.
Oh, he got it from.
Because he has a patron.
Him and Mew are
that
kind
made
of
him.
related. They share genes.
Mewtwo is a better warlock. Yeah. Sorcerer, you want to say Pikachu? That's fine. And wizard,
Or like Alakazam maybe is wizard.
Oh, yeah,
Alakazam,
yeah.
His name is Alakazam. Yes.
yeah, that's way better. Wizard. Individual
That's
schools
the
of
learn,
magic.
right? That's
Yeah, that's
one
the
that
learn.
right?
Yeah, that's the learn.
Would it be like a normal Pokemon that you have to teach a powerful technique, but it's like a normal type?
Oh yeah, like Smeargle.
Sure,
Smeargle's
that
got
one.
Yeah.
He's got
yeah,
a
that's
move
good one.
sketch where anytime another Pokemon uses a move, you can sketch it and then Smeargle learns it.
I like it.
There you go.
believe you.
Great suggestion,
Wow.
Marcus.
Look at this guy.
You clearly caught them all.
My deep well of knowledge.
I hope people like Baldur's Gate because that's been the last hour. No, but seriously, I really like this game, and highly recommend it. So far.
I'm excited. I wish it wasn't. Both releases are bad for me.
Yeah.
It's coming. Because it comes out this Friday for PC, and I can play it on PC now because I have a new PC that can run it. But I'm still very much tied down with Zelda and Final Fantasy.
Is there
and I don't
cross
wanna take
save?
Oh, okay. Like I just don't want to get tied down with like another, especially one as dense as this, while with those two still outstanding. But then when it comes to PlayStation 5, which is what I was originally planning to play it on, it will still most likely play it on. It comes out the same day as Starfield. It's just,
Damn.
yeah,
Impossible.
yeah, which I don't know how that like happened. Like no one looked at that and said that's fine.
Well, because
Like-
they said that they said that they were moving the PC date specifically to avoid Starfield. So I guess
Yeah.
Well, PlayStation
That's
5
not-
people were like,
Yeah.
we assume that if you have a
I'm-
PS5, you don't own an Xbox too, so who cares?
right. I was gonna say like maybe they're just like, oh, this is for people that aren't gonna be playing Starfield.
I'm not one of them. I'm gonna play both of those.
Okay, well, that does it for all of our Baldur's Gate 3 talk this episode. Marcus, I'm going to toss it to you because you've been playing a game that's entering a closed beta soon, Palia.
Yeah, I mean, as you're listening to this, you can play it now if you're, I guess, signed up for the closed beta. Yeah, it's a big MMO life sim farm game by Singularity 6. I think we've seen it at a few of the like showcases over the last like year at like I think it was like the Game Awards or like one of those things, Summer Games Fest. It's funny, I've never really been a huge life sim person, but I've gotten more into them as a result of like playing Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Sure, yeah.
Which was like my first Animal Crossing game, and I was like, oh, I think I like these to an extent. Now, my biggest thing with them is that I'm a very purpose-driven player. Like I kind of need a through line to carry me through and not let it be just so open-ended where it's like, yeah, just go in there and make your own fun. Like that's cool, but I need something else to keep me playing long term. And this game does that because it's got like a full-on story where you're a human that suddenly appears in this weird fantasy world where it's like all the inhabitants are like these like I don't even know what they are exactly. They're just like these humanoid kind of like elf people, for lack of a better term, like
Sure.
they're all multicolored looking. I don't know if they have like a name for their race.
Could be a drow, a wood elf.
Yeah,
Israel.
could be
Half-orc.
making up words for all I know, and I just nod my head. Been like, I believe you. But what's interesting is that when you show up, you meet like this young scientist lady. She's like, "Whoa, you're a human. Those haven't existed here forever. Like, I guess at some point humans went extinct, and like all that's left is like some ruins and other archaeological remains." So it's like, okay, that's an interesting mystery. And they're like, hey, you're not the only human here. Like other humans have popped up too, sort of implying to like the MMO nature of the game. And on top of like doing quests to sort of like figure out what's going on there, you get your own little homestead, you're building a house and you're farming and you're doing all these sort of like slice of lifestyle stuff on top of getting to know all the different residents in the town. You know, they're all got their own personalities and backstories, and there's like a friendship bond system where like, you know, the more you talk to them, the higher you raise your bond level, and then you'll learn more about them. And they have like their own little quests. They even have like a weekly quest that resets each week, kind of incentivize you to go talk to them as often as you can. And you can also romance them when you get to a certain point, which is always, you know, people like those romance options in games. And it's like it's pretty enjoyable so far. It's like the art style is very like I don't want to say it looks like Fortnite because I feel like that's like reductive in a way, but it also looks like Fortnite. Which is like that very like inoffensive, stylized, colorful look, you know, where you're just like, yeah, this is I could look at this and be happy, I guess. This looks fine.
My question right off the bat, Marcus, is how do they pair MMO with Life Sim, which is a game that very much is typically single player focused because, you know, you have these long relationships that you're building up, and how does that work in a multiplayer game where like I want to romance this person? Do they get claimed by another player or is it instanced? How does that work?
That's what I was going to ask. Like, do a bunch of people marry the same character?
Can I make like a bachelor competition?
So this is actually a cult that you join. So we all share spouses.
Okay.
But I actually don't know. I definitely didn't play long enough to get to where you even get where that option even comes up. So yeah, that's actually a good question. I would assume it's just like in your world, they are just your partner. Like other players don't have them. That would be my assumption. But in terms of like the general multiplayer framework, it's just that every server has a set number of players that occupy it. And that cap hasn't been decided yet. Like they've said it's going to go higher as they go through their different betas and whatnot. I want to say it's around 20 right now. But it's like all these other players are here. And if you have a friend group, I believe you can have a party of up to 4 in your game. And, you each have your own little homesteads and you can visit each other's homes kind of like you can in Animal Crossing and help each other out. So one of the cool things about the game is that you can use your crops to cook. And if you unlock enough like cooking sets, like you have a full kitchen with like a prep station, ovens, mixing stations, and it's almost like an Overcooked style thing where like every station has like a mini game attached to it of like, okay, I'm chopping the carrots or I'm doing this and that. And if you have a buddy come over to help you out, then you're working together and you're trying to cook things with things. Every dish has like a time limit and you can overcook things. And
well, that's awesome.
The only thing that can't go wrong is that nothing can catch fire and burn to the ground. And I asked that specifically, but like, you can ruin food. Sure. So it's like stuff like that. Or if it's like, hey, you want to come over and help me chop some trees down because I need wood to build whatever. And you're like, yeah, bro, I got you. And then, you both reap the rewards of the labor, but you can speed it up by having friends participate, So it's kind of like that. We're like, hey, you can come over, you can give me stuff, you can help me do chores, and I can do the same for you, vice versa. And we can kind of like, it seems like it's a more like fleshed out version of like what people wanted from like Animal Crossing sort of like multiplayer. We have to jump through like 50,000 hoops just to have someone come to your island. And then their interactions there were super limited anyway. It's definitely a more engaging form of that. And I'm not sure how it plays into the story quest stuff too. I assume you could probably do those quests together. But again, like I didn't play with anyone else because it's like, I'm pretty sure it was only press that were in my build. So I rarely saw another person. It was just like every now and then. So I just didn't get to really mess around with that too much. But that's as far as the extent that I know of so far. But I'd say the game, like, it plays well. I will say the controller support is pretty limited, which was a bummer for me because I'm a gamepad person. I'm not very good with WASD. So, if you're kind of on the controller side, if you plug it in, like some things work, some things don't. So it's going to be a little bit frustrating. But like, it's definitely, it's doing the basic thing of satisfying that lizard part of my brain that likes to see meters go up. Yeah. Because this is a free to play game. And the only thing that's they're charging money for is like cosmetics. But because it's free to play, it does the thing of like, hey, everything's on a meter. Like, hey, the more things you do, there's like 8 skills that you're getting better at. Where you're like, hey, you're doing really good at farming, or you're really good at chopping wood, or doing archery to go hunt and stuff like that. And then there's different milestones you'll hit, and then with every milestone, you get better at that thing, or you get a better tool for that thing of like, hey, I got a better garden hose, so I can till fields faster. Heck yeah. And then once you hit a certain level of that, you'll start earning like these special sort of like trophies that you can put on display in your little house. You can make your house super big. Like you start with a little tent, and then you can build like a multi-room mansion eventually, and deck it out with all these different decorations. The decorating is pretty nice because it's when you go into the decorating, it's like this grid overlay that comes up that makes it really easy to sort of drop things down in game. But if you want to get like super granular, you can also shift to like an overhead view where you can just point and click like, okay, house is in the corner, this is here. And even the like you start with your basic land plot, but you can see that you have like a surrounding forest that has sections of land that you can buy, so you can expand your property. So even beyond, like, because the basic land plot is pretty decent size, but just seeing how big your area could be is kind of nice. You're like, oh, I could make like Neverland Ranch here if I wanted to. I'm gonna have a roller coaster in the background. I don't know if you could put a roller coaster in this game, but but yeah, it's chill. Like the humor is charming. The characters seem like interesting personality wise. In terms of the main stuff, the only thing that I really dug into was like there's like these temples that are scattered and hidden, and you're finding these keys to open them up, and you do like a puzzle in there. Like there was like the first one I did had like a riddle of like, it actually reminded me of the the first Mortal Kombat movie where Liu Kang fights Sub-Zero and Katana's like, use the element which brings life. It's like pretty much that same riddle. And you're like, oh, I think I know what that is because I watched that that movie that is completely unrelated to this game. So like stuff like that. Of like, hey, go do like a little puzzle, and then you'll open up some other parts of the world. There, like, I don't want to get into like spoiler stuff, but there's like stuff I found where it's like, oh, okay, there's like a grander mystery here.
Yeah.
Okay, which again for me is like I like having that carrot of like a story to sort of complement the other stuff around it. Like, oh yeah, like I'm just gonna go hang out with my friends or go talk to Tish, the really excited flower girl, and then maybe court her. You know, it seems all right so far, and it seems for like a free to play game pretty harmless in terms of like monetization with it only. And
Sure.
I say that as someone that generally doesn't care about cosmetics. Like I rarely ever pony up money for a cosmetic, so it's like if that's all they're charging, it's like, whatever. Okay. So we'll see. I want to play more of it. Like I said, it goes into open beta next week, so you know we can all get in there. Maybe we can all.
Can a fella get a code, Marcus? Oh, you said open beta. Okay. Closed beta is tomorrow. Okay.
Close, yeah, or at least at the time you're listening to this, it's already started. Yeah.
See what's wrong with it being next week, Marcus, for the open beta, is I'm once again going to be on a work trip. So I would love it if you could deliver a code that was promised in Slack.
I asked for the code. I had fulfilled my end of the bargain. I just haven't.
I thought you were holding out on me. I thought.
Yeah, I'm sitting on a pile of codes.
I thought you gave my code to Charles or somebody over here.
Charles and I have been putting a lot of work in Palia. I'm gonna tell you.
We're Palia pals. I mean, pals.
Wait, you're playing it too?
No.
Or is this the bit? Okay, I was gonna get angry. The rage was seething inside me.
He got so triggered.
I really like how fast you fall for bits sometimes. It really makes.
I feel like I didn't used to be. I used to be a skeptic, Charles.
I don't know if it's with me, just because like we haven't.
I think it's
like,
with you.
hung out outside of podcasts, really at all.
Yeah.
So I can just pretend to be really earnest. Feel like
I
play the accordion every day.
I think once I meet you in person, I will like download your schematics, and then my brain will be able to know then when you're bullshitting me and when you're not.
Yeah, you don't realize that Charles is actually just like Loki.
He is very low key. Yes.
I love my schematics, but there's another one of me behind.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems fine so far. Like I've enjoyed my time with it, especially as like a game to put like on while you're watching something in the background. You know, it's like I'm gonna grow some carrots and I'm gonna put on like Peacock and watch wrestling or something.
I really want to play this with Kayla because, like many people, we sunk hundreds of hours into Animal Crossing multiplayer, despite all the hoops. So I'd love to like set up two farms next to each other, and like I've got on the other side of my TV, I've got like, or on the other side of my workstation, I have like just a TV that we never use. It came with the place, and we're not allowed to take it off the wall. So it's just like this ominous, never used TV. I'm like, oh, I could hook up my Xbox or something, have her play on that, I'll play on this, and we could till some soil. Like you said, Marcus.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And so at the time that this airs, there should be a written preview on the site. It goes into a bit more detail about just my experience with it. But yeah, so far it seems cool. I will also like another neat thing is that it's available only on PC, but it's also planning to come to Switch when it launches. Just those two platforms. And I only say that because it seems like it'd be a good Switch game. It's got that seal of could be good Switch game plastered on the box. So
cool. That sounds awesome. All right. Anything else that you guys want to talk about before we start wrapping up? What else have you been playing, Marcus? I think you had a few things, right?
Mainly just Viewfinder. Started that finally. I'm like halfway through it. I got through it pretty quick. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm also I don't know why. I felt like the puzzle solving when I was listening to other people describe it. I don't know how to say this, but like I'm kind of amazed at how haphazard a lot of things can be solved compared to what it sounded like. Of like, oh, it sounded like everything had to be almost like fit in like a weird puzzle piece sort of way of like when you take this picture and you put it in this certain way, it's going to fit beautifully.
Like more like The Witness or something.
Kind of like that. And then when I'm playing, I'm like, okay, I've got this tunnel. I'm just going to throw it over here to where it just barely reaches this ledge that I'm trying to get to. And you're like, oh, this looks like crap, kind of, but it looks cool, but it also looks like crap, but it works. And like, for me, that's fine. But I'm like, oh, I'm solving a lot of problems. I mean, not all of them, because, you know, there's different types of them, but especially those like, take the photo, superimpose it somewhere else and see what happens. I'm like, I don't know, this looks like this could reach here if I angle it a certain way, and then it just looks like a mess that is like shattering reality, but it also like does the job perfectly. And I'm like, I think this is what they want me to do. I just thought it would maybe be a little bit more elegant, but I also don't mind it, because it like makes sense that it should work that way based on like my thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just thought it would come across a bit more elegantly.
Do you think if you had like a puzzle solved notification, like sound, like do when you like get across
not like that. I don't know. I guess I'm just thinking of I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit more freeform than I thought it would be.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like when you place a picture. Alex, I don't know if you played this game.
It's downloaded.
It's like you hold up a picture and then it gets superimposed in the environment. But when you do that, you erase everything behind the picture. Yeah. So you're simultaneously have the ability to create, like, I have a picture of a bridge. Poof, I've created a bridge. But you're also destroying everything behind it. And sometimes it's like, I don't know, you feel like a god of destruction of like, I will destroy this whole wall by putting like a picture of a potted plant next to it. Yeah. Completely accidentally also. Yeah.
Like you're literally breaking the world so that you could put something that just probably doesn't even fit with the world itself, because it's like maybe the photo is like a completely different art style than your surroundings. So you're just like, I'm just going to shove that right in there because
that almost sounds like
I need to be.
That almost sounds like they got to a point in their prototype where they were like, this is really cool tech. We can't figure out how to not make it destroy this thing. Let's just go with it. It almost feels like that. It's like almost held together by duct tape, and it's a miracle that it's all working anyways.
Yeah, it's like a combination of like creative thinking and then also like some spatial awareness of like, I think I need to put this in a way where this makes sense, but also I can't have it destroy the thing I'm trying to reach either. Like I need to, you're like, oh, I got it. I'm just 5 inches off. Let me move it over a little bit so it doesn't get rid of that thing that I need.
Is there like an undo button? That's pretty.
Yeah, there's a rewind mechanic.
Okay.
Yeah, which is super important.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think the game's a breeze to get through. The narrative, I kind of like take or leave. You know, it's just kind of there. But I think like just as a tech showpiece and just as a kind of a nice chill pill in between like the big stuff I'm working on, I'm enjoying it a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm eager to. I actually downloaded it, and I was planning to play through the whole thing last week, but ended up not being able to play any games at all. But now Baldur's Gate has me, so I'm like, I got to make time for Viewfinder at some point.
It's not a long game either.
I've heard it's like 5 hours, maybe.
Like 3-4 hours even.
Oh, okay, cool.
Like I've played in 2 sessions, and I'm already over halfway through it apparently, because there's like a progress meter.
Okay. I'm very excited to play that video game. It looks very good. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for the show this week. Thank you, Ken, for joining us. I do want to give you a chance to shout out again where people can find you and all that fun stuff.
Oh, yeah. Every day over at Kotaku, writing stuff. I got the bi-weekly retrospective podcast, Normandy FM, which you can find on all your various podcast platforms. I'm also on Twitter at ShepardCDR. Or X is. I'm
come on.
That. No. I'm on Twitter as ShepardCDR.
Awesome.
And there's probably like a tweet on there somewhere where everything else is, as we're trying to find all these alternatives.
Yeah.
That's
fair. Of course, go and get single issues of Game Informer at GameStop.com/Game Informer or in store for $5.99, or get a digital subscription to the magazine. Head over and subscribe and follow our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Game Informer. Of course, we have our ongoing series, Super Replay, on Fridays. Did you guys finish Banjo Nuts and Bolts?
We might this week.
Okay, okay.
If we're like 85% sure that the thing we think is the end is the end.
Okay.
But we're like 3 jiggies away from unlocking that world. So,
Okay.
which is like easily done in an episode. So this might be the last episode.
Okay. And then Marcus has also been streaming kind of more frequently as well, other than Fridays, right? Or at least
Yeah,
that
we
seems
did
like
Remnant. Yeah, Remnant 2 this week. There might be another stream that's already happened by the time you listen to this.
yeah.
We'll see.
You can go and find all of those on our second YouTube channel, the archives of those at youtube.com/Game Informer Shows. You have to do the little @ before Game Informer Shows. And then, of course, you can find all of our main video content over on youtube.com/Game Informer. We've got our Sonic Superstars video coverage going up throughout the week on there. And then lastly, go and listen to our other podcast, All Things Nintendo, hosted by Brian Shea. That releases every Friday, and it's about all things Nintendo. Don't forget to follow these fellas here. You can follow Charles at ChuckDuck365 on Twitter. You can follow Marcus at MarcusStewart7 on Twitter and Blue Sky, Marcus?
Yep.
And Charles, you're also on Blue Sky? Okay. I'm also... I feel like I hate that I'm spending so much time on social media. I'm waiting for, you know, one or two of them to fall off. Something's got to give. You can follow me
Also,
at It's Van Aken.
What if, just dawned on me, what if Twitter or X, what if it's not actually pronounced X? What if it's really cross? What if an X being cross for like other, like in video games? What if that's really what he's going for?
It's very bold of you to assume that anyone involved has thought that far ahead.
Someone played Project Cross Zone and was like, we should take that X and we should use that.
But yeah, you can follow me at It's Van Aken on all the places. Wilson, my cat, is meowing at me now, so I got to get off here and feed him. Ken, thank you for joining us. Charles, Marcus, thank you for joining as always. And thank you for watching and listening to the Game Informer Show. We will see you next week. I probably won't be here. I've got another work trip going out of country, so Marcus will probably be holding down the fort. We'll have to talk about that. But yeah, everybody have a good week. Bye.